Let's now speak to energy analyst Ruse Moleshe. Ruse, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Rolling blackouts are with us for the next 2 years at least. Some are skeptical about the fact that it could be 2 years. Some say it may be more, or simply don't put a time frame to it, as they sometimes would advise government and Eskom as well. Your thoughts?
Thank you, Wangiwe, and thank you to the viewers at home. I would not agree totally with the assertion that there should not be timelines, because I think that there should be accountability to the public, to the stakeholders, in terms of what the plan is and when can we expect results, so that we can ask questions. And I'm happy to say that today we got the briefing from Eskom, and one of the things that they did that was different was that they had specific timelines in terms of the energy availability factors. For instance, for the coal-fired power plants, they've got timelines starting from, they use a baseline of 58%. They want to see 60% in the next 2.5 months, and 65% by 31st March 2024, and another 70% in 2025. That means that in the 2-year period, we expect energy availability factor to go to 70%. And we will be asking questions if we see that that is not the case. And I think one of the most important things that's slightly a differentiator now is that they plan to have a project management company that will report on exactly what are the issues that are happening at Eskom, because in the past, you have not really been able to get to the, besides the various indications it's for the reasons of load shedding, but you haven't read a full accountability of exactly what's happening with which plants and what is happening. So some level of independence in the reporting will help, and it also helps that they are looking to increase, to help with the capacity of managing Eskom's outage program.
And when one looks at, you know, the plan to move from 58% to at least 70% by the end, by 2025 onwards, I mean, you're seeing things like setting it up for success. I mean, they talk about setting, setting up enabling structures and making sure that they focus on the priority stations, the stations that are also doing well, and making sure that they boost capacity with the others. When you look at this particular plan that they've put in place for you, is it attainable in the next 2 years? Because we know, I think the global standard, if they said it's at about 86%, I think.
Yes, the global standard is at 86%. That remains to be seen. It depends how the implementation is done. But I think that with the plans in place, the plans are relatively more robust, in the sense that, for instance, there's a capital fund that will support the turnaround of those coal-fired power plants. There's also some internal controls that they alluded to that have not been that strong. Those internal controls are within Eskom's control, and they are saying that they're going to manage those well. So if they do, I think this is attainable, if they do the things that they claim that they are going to do.
And another thing which, is always of interest is plant performance. And the Eskom board chair today saying that the plant performance recovery plan is at its final stages of being approved by the shareholder, because the board has now approved it. At the same time, we're seeing yesterday the president giving a 6-month update of the crisis committee, saying that, there's a panel of independent experts who are now going to work closely with Eskom to diagnose the problems at poorly performing power stations and take action to improve this. What are your thoughts then on these two processes that are unfolding? Can they coexist, or should they be merged into one, or are they already merged into one?
I think that what is good about the processes is that each layer of these stakeholders has a responsibility. So Eskom should be allowed through its board to run the operational matters. But the good thing is that they do report to the committee that is there, which is within government, in terms of progress. And they do have timelines that they agree with. They have the deliverables that they agree with. But Eskom should be, in my view, left to do what they need to do with an oversight from the board, and except for So I don't think that government should really be involved directly in Eskom, except to have that feedback with respect to where are we with the timelines. Government, however, has a bigger role than just Eskom. As you know, they have a role to ensure that the other procurement of any other power that is outside of Eskom is also done. So that plan relates mainly to Eskom. It relies heavily on Eskom prioritizing the coal-fired power plant and their improvement in performance. But it goes beyond that. That plan is the one that, for me, there are certain questions with respect to whether some of the things can be achievable. But it's also not timeline-based. It talks about regional power, for instance. I don't know that that exists, the capacity they are looking to achieve from the region. I don't know if that exists. It talks about virtual power stations. That depends on energy efficiency intervention, demand-side management systems that will come into, whether those will like to hear more in terms of the government play.
And what do you make about, some of what they said yesterday about their key achievements to date? I mean, they're saying that Schedule 2 of the Electricity Regulation Act has been amended to remove licensing requirements for generation projects, which the committee says will significantly accelerate private investment. Is this a good move? Are you seeing progress in this regard?
I think, that is a good move, because this is meant for companies, industries, and industries and municipalities, whoever can generate their power from independent power producer for their own consumption will reduce the total requirement for the country. So that is a good thing. It doesn't need government support financially. It just needs government to make sure from a regulatory point of view that there are no bottlenecks. And I think that they've been helping with respect to that, reducing environmental impact assessment timelines, for instance, and all of the other interventions that they've been doing to make sure that this moves faster. So I think these two processes are complementary. For as long as, I think what we have been complaining about in the past, there's too much reliance on that, whereas the biggest problem, top priority, should be to maintain, to help with the coal-fired power fleet, because that's the biggest capacity that we have in the country. So now any other complementary processes are good. They can only be good if they are successful.
Very briefly, reading a story in the City Press today, some saying that the bidding process has been disastrous, and they're saying that with news that the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy might be solely responsible for Eskom, they seemingly want the current minister to then be moved. But I wonder how much of what we are seeing now can be attributed to the Department of Minerals and Energy.
Look, in terms of, you can, in terms of transmission infrastructure, for instance, which one of the bid windows is struggling from, is that a Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, or are we supposed to have built transmission infrastructure to make sure that these projects can connect into the grid? That's a question mark. I don't know. Some of the procurement programs within the department have been delayed, but I don't know. Who can you attribute those to?
All right, let's then see what happens, Ruse, as we got that update, and a lot of people then, having mixed reactions. Others saying that it might be good for planning, it's good to know where things are going, but others are saying it's simply taking too long. But let's then see what happens. Thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it. That's Ruse Moleshe, an energy analyst.